So yeah, you've read the title, and it's true. I'm never making a deck of cards ever again. So why not? Hi guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the first video of 2025, which sounds wrong. That doesn't sound like this year. That sounds like some future year that's yet to happen. But here we are, 2025, and the title is not clickbait. I'm going to be talking today about why CVN cards is no more. It will no longer exist. I say it's no more, the website is still there, and the cards that already exist and that are still on sale, they're still available, and you can go and buy them until they completely sell out. But once they do, that is it. I'm not producing any more playing cards. I want to discuss why, but I also kind of want to use this as an opportunity to look back at all of the cards, and I have them here, all of the decks that I produced. There is one here which I will sort of remove and talk about at a different time. This is now the complete CVN cards collection, the only 5 decks I will have ever produced. Honourable mentions also go to the Dystopian Gaff deck and my credit card playing cards, both of which I kind of consider to be extra decks. They weren't produced in a full print run. One of them didn't have a box. They didn't have Kickstarters to go along with them like these did, so that's why I kind of consider them to be extras. Before I talk about any of that though, I want to address a question that I know a lot of you will have, which is this just a marketing stunt? Is this me saying I'm never producing cards again, and then in a couple of years I'll make a deck and everyone will love it? The answer to that is no. Right now, for the foreseeable future, I'm never producing cards again. Doesn't mean that I will never produce a magic trick that uses a deck of cards, like a trick deck or something like that. That is a potential, but in terms of a deck, a designed pack of cards, a standard pack of cards that isn't just one magic trick, no, I'm done. And again, I will talk about why later, but first, let's go through them. This was the Dystopian deck, my first ever deck of playing cards. I still hold a lot of nostalgia for this. This is one of 3 that I have left in my personal collection that is still wrapped in the plastic, which is crazy. So I am going to open this on camera right now. This is a weird experience. I've not opened one of these in a very long time. Produced by Cartamundi. This was my biggest Kickstarter to date. This one, it was by far the most expensive. They got a little cheaper as I ironed out some of the sort of business issues. But yeah, this one funded on Kickstarter with, I think, like 80 backers or something like that. A lot of people lapped this one up. It's got the inner plastic, which I really don't like. And then inside, I'd almost forgotten, but it came with a rules card, which some people got the irony of, some people very much didn't. I remember, and I've spoken about this on the channel before, I remember Ekaterina did a review of this exact deck of cards. I sent it to her. She did a review on a live stream and just completely did not get this. Thought it was just completely bizarre, which it is. It's meant to be. You know, the rules on here: don't shuffle the cards, don't tamper with the decks, don't damage the decks. She thought it was a sincere thing and thought that I must have been the biggest arsehole in the playing card community, literally including a rules card. But that is kind of the point of the theme of the deck. So yeah, it's an interesting choice. I didn't do it in the next one, the Dark Dystopian, because I thought it was a complete waste of a card, but as a concept, it's a fairly interesting one. Also included a duplicate 3 of Hearts, I'd kind of forgotten that, and then 2 Jokers, which were originally identical Jokers, and then we added the graffiti, which again, some people love, some people don't. I grew not to love it, but looking back, I do kind of have nostalgia for the graffiti. This right here is the back design, that blood red, the watchtowers, the barbed wire. I still think it holds up. It was a weird decision, and we went through a lot of different versions of this to get it to work. The sort of balance between it being minimal, which we wanted a lot of blank space, but then also having quite a complicated design. The closer you look at that watchtower, the more details there are. It is actually a really detailed picture. Again, I'm the one talking about it, but this is just as much Arya's deck as it is mine. That has always been the case with CVN. It's called CVN, but really it should be like CVN AH, because again, Arya Harris Arya, whatever you want to call him, whatever his name is, no one really knows. He is a brilliant, talented designer. I could talk about all the little ins and outs of every single court card, but I'm not going to waste your time with it. I will talk about the Ace of Spades though. Controversial decision again to have the graffiti on it, but I kind of like it. The red cards have a little bit of a darker tint that matches the back design. That's another detail that I really like. And there's a lot of subtle details on the court cards, like some of them being chained up or having tape over their mouths or blindfolds or whatever. All of that really plays into the theme, and there I am. With a beard in this one. I think in the prototype I didn't have a beard at the time. And there we go. That is probably going to be, I reckon, the last time I ever open a fresh Dystopian deck. I kind of want to keep the other ones sealed for the grandkids to see or something crazy like that. But yeah, this is a real trip down memory lane. A deck that honestly, I still think holds up. I'm gonna rank them as well. Why not? Why not do a review of my own playing cards? It's never gonna happen again. This is all that will exist. So in terms of ranking, I'm gonna give this an 8 out of 10. I feel pretty good about this one. 8 out of 10. Moving on to the Dark Dystopian. Despite having a smaller Kickstarter, this is the most best-selling of my cards, and these are still on sale. More of these were produced than the original Dystopian. No text on the edges, which I much prefer. Here is the back design for this one. Exact same thing, just in black. It is a recolor, which I know I've criticized in the past, but there's only 2 color versions of this, red and black. Those are the playing card colors in my opinion, so yeah, it was never gonna be, you know, a deck that we did 100 different colors of. And I think it works a lot better in black, honestly. I don't really know why we didn't do black the first time, because it just makes a lot more sense. It's a design that I'm a lot more familiar with looking at. I've used this deck a lot more than the red one. It just kind of feels, I don't know, it feels right. We also included a double facer, which there are loads and loads of tricks for. Maybe I'll revisit some double facer magic on the channel. That'd be interesting. A 3 hearts, jack of diamonds one, and a double backer as well. Nice inclusion. And then an angle Z card. And you do get a spare 7 of hearts, so you can rip it up. And then we get to the actual deck, and the Ace of Spades is graffiti free on this one, which I much prefer. I like seeing the actual design work that went into that Camp 52 logo. And the color scheme of the court cards just, I think, works a lot better in this deck. I'm a lot happier with it. There's a couple of extra additions. Vincent van Gogh is the King of Hearts, and somewhere, yep, Queen of Clubs, Joan of Arc. Yeah, some really nice inclusions. I'd forgotten about some of the extra word reveals, actually. We added in some word reveals as well as playing card reveals onto the court cards. Some of them are actually kind of difficult as well. You can pause the video and try and find the word riot on the Jack of Diamonds if you want. No jokers in this deck, and no rules card either, you'll notice. The 4 extra cards are all magic related. Double facer, double backer, angle Z, duplicate. It's very magician focused. The story of Camp 52 in my head is that kind of by this point Camp 52 is kind of falling apart a little bit. The rules are, you know, breaking down. There was an escape game that went along with this called Escape from Camp 52, where you had to like solve a load of puddles? You had to solve a load of puddles. You had to solve a load of puzzles to break someone out of Camp 52. So I was kind of adding to the lore of Camp 52, and that was a really sort of exciting thing to do. Something that I hadn't really seen happen with playing cards, adding just an extra sort of element to the world. And that was it for the Camp 52 saga. We also, of course, did the Dystopian Gaff deck. And again, in my head, the story is really broken down there because, you know, it started out with a rules card, don't tamper with the decks. And then by the end, we're producing a Gaff deck where the cards are literally being all over the place. So I really enjoyed the sort of Camp 52 arc. And it was my first foray into playing cards. It was really exciting, and yeah, I absolutely loved making these. So a little detail I have forgotten is the Carta Mundi logo is on the red one, and we got in a little bit of trouble for that, which is why it's not on the black one. If you're wondering what this is that I removed at the start of the video, this is an unreleased deck of cards that was meant to be between these two when they were released, but I didn't sort of want to break apart the Camp 52 arc. I wanted them to be together, and so this never ended up being produced because of that. You know, it was fully designed, the prototypes were printed, it was ready to go, and nothing ever really happened, nothing ever really came of it. So yeah, it just ended up being something I never ever showed on camera, and never will, except for on the inner circle, where I'll be making a video talking about this deck and showing it for the first time ever. And it is at this point literally 4, 5 years old, and I've never shown it before. As for my rating of the Dark Dystopian, I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. Next up, we have the CVN Strikers. Here they are, the CVN Strikers, a deck I am incredibly familiar with because this still is a deck I use at gigs quite a lot. This and the Workers Edition, which I'll come to, I use in performance a lot, and that was what it was designed for. The Dystopian decks were very much like story-based, design-based. I wanted something practical, something that looked like it could have been taken directly from a casino, but had a little bit of a modern twist, had a little bit of a personal twist, something that I have always wanted to see in a deck, and this was kind of born very organically from it. Basically, Arya designed the CVN logo, and I just thought, wouldn't it be cool to see that repeated on a borderless back design? I'd not done borderless cards before. In my head, borderless cards had always been quite sort of fusty and old-fashioned, so I wanted to add a little bit of a modern injection to that, and it was inspired by a lot of things, but out came the CVN Strikers, and I'm gonna open this one up. Again, if you are interested, this one is still available. Some nice details on the tabs there, and no inner plastic. Look at this, straight into the cards themselves, and that Ace of Spades, I just love. It's so different. This whole deck feels completely different. It feels like it could have been made by an entirely different brand, which is exactly what we wanted. It includes a cut card, just a double-sided red cut card. It also includes 2 jokers, which are not identical. Again, kind of more for the artistry than the practicalities, but I do use them in performance, and at a quick glance you can get away with them being duplicates. But the amount of design work that went into this, I can't even begin to imagine. These are just beautiful, and again, fully Arya's contribution. I just let him loose to design whatever on the jokers. It was a Kickstarter reward to be in the deck, and this is Matthias, and it was his idea to have a little 2 of Diamonds reveal on the cap, which is genius, and I use it personally all the time. It's great. We've also got Chase from Chasing the Illusion, who's been on the channel. He's the King of Spades, and there's a little Ace of Hearts reveal in the center. I won't go through all the details, there's so many, but this is just such a fun deck. And these court cards, again, just feel like they're from a different brand. The style of them, the sort of roundedness of the pips. Sorry, I know this has basically just been me sitting here praising my own cards, but I'm praising Arya's work, and I guess if I didn't like it, I wouldn't have made it, so there's that as well. Yeah, big fan. I'm gonna give that, yeah, an 8.5, I guess, an 8.5 out of 10. Oh, hang on, what did I give the Dark Dystopian? I'll give it a 9. I'll give it a 9 because I do like it just as much as the Dark Dystopian. And next up, we have these, which are the Workers Edition. Looking back, I would say the worst thing about the Workers Edition is the name, the Workers Edition. I really don't like that name, actually, because it kind of suggests that you can't use the other ones at a gig, and you absolutely can. It's just we threw in some sort of extra workable features about this deck, like the fact that they are marked, first of all. So my first ever and only only marked deck I will ever make. We included a blank card, which is always very useful, a double backer, again, so many uses, and a more traditional angle Z card, angle 0 card. But I actually don't use these as much as the green version. I do prefer the green version. I think the white version kind of gets lost on people. I don't know, it's a little bit hard to look at as well. I don't know if that's just me, but like the stripy nature of it and the fact that there are no colors, it's a little bit like crazy to look at. Kind of hurts your eyes a little bit, so I don't love it. I received more complaints about this deck than any other. Before, I received a lot of messages from people saying that the marking system is too obvious, or it's so obvious I would never use it in person. And to those people I say, just give it a go. Like, I've used this deck in front of spectators dozens of times. No one has ever caught the marking system. That's just the way it is. People aren't looking for it. Don't think like a magician. Yes, as a magician, you look at it and you go, oh right, I can, tell what card that is. But spectators are just not looking out for that. And it was designed to be bold as well. If you don't like it, there are lots of other marked decks where the marking really is a lot smaller and a lot harder to read, in my opinion, but also you will get away with it more, I suppose. If you give this card to a spectator, if you hand it out afterwards, then yeah, chances are they will spot the marking system. If they keep the card, they might see it eventually. Just play it wisely and it's okay. All in all though, I'm not as big of a fan of it. I am gonna give it a 7 out of 10. Last but not least, we have the Intergalactic Strikers, which I cannot possibly say what they were inspired by, and you obviously can't tell what they were inspired by, but this was basically just a little bit of fun, this one. Although there are some really nice features to this deck. Namely this, which just looks absolutely incredible. Now, is this a deck I would perform with? Absolutely not. In fact, I can't remember the last time I even shuffled with these or practiced with these. These are, for me, purely for display, which I am not really a big fan of myself, so there's kind of no point this existing other than it looks cool and it's fun. Like, is that a good enough reason for it to exist? I don't know. I'm gonna give this a bit of a harsh 6 out of 10. Is that too mean? No, I think I'll stick with it. 6 out of 10, just because for me personally, there's no real reason for it to exist, but I know some people do quite like it, and they're great for doing forces with. I know I said that was the last one, but there are 3 more that I want to show you just very, very quickly. This right here is the Private Reserve Striker edition, which was such a limited pre-order. There are literally less than 10 of these that exist, but they just look so colourful. So this is the last official deck that I made and sold, which is just such a funky colour. Even the Ace of Spades has a little rainbow twist on it, which I quite like. And I kind of consider this to be my last deck, but there are 2 more, which I have right here, which are just prototypes. There's only 1 of each in the world. I made them as prototypes to take some pictures of and whatever, and I was going to make a Kickstarter for these, and then I didn't. I kind of changed my mind, and I will show you these cards because they are based on something which I have already made, which you may recognize, the credit card back design. I was going to do a reprint of these with a very subtle redesign, the new logo on there, a couple of other things. And then the other version I have here is basically the same thing in green. They were produced way back in, I think, June of 2024, like more than 6 months ago at this point. And at first I looked at them and I played around with them, and I thought it was a pretty good idea. I messed around with the cards a little bit more. I wondered if maybe I wanted to, expand on the idea, do something different, and ultimately I felt bored. I felt bored by my own playing cards, which brings me on very nicely to answering the title, the question that I'm sure some of you still have, which is, why am I not producing any more cards? I've shown you all these cards here, and I'm excited by them. I like the designs, and I'm very, very proud of them. I'm very, very proud of having printed these cards. I don't want you to think that, I hate playing cards and I hated the experience of making these. That's not true at all. I loved the experience of making these. And I'm done. That's it. I feel like I've contributed everything I possibly can. I don't want to be one of those brands that just recolors the same deck over and over and over again. I could, if I wanted to, re-release the Strikers, but do a pink version or a red version or a fancy different orange version or whatever. But I'd be bored by that. There'd be no passion there. To be honest, and this is hard to say, but I've lost my passion for making playing cards. And I think that's okay to admit, that I'm just not excited by playing cards anymore. Not just making them, but collecting them myself. In terms of collecting cards, I don't love it anymore like I used to. It used to be that I would, lap up the next deck. I mean, Theory 11 have just released some new Star Wars cards. Me a couple of years ago would have been right there at midnight, pressing add to cart. I would have been absolutely jumping on that. And now I just think, well, I don't need it. Am I going to perform with it? Probably not. All of my fancy playing cards that I've spent hundreds and hundreds of pounds on are currently lying in a box, gathering dust, waiting to be dusted off and sold on Vinted. I don't want them anymore. And in terms of producing my own, I don't have any ideas. I don't have any love for it anymore. My love for the playing card world has kind of gone. But the reason that's a good thing, I want to get onto why this is such a good thing, because it really is, in my opinion, such a good thing, is because the reason that passion for playing cards has died down is because my passion for Magic has just sort of skyrocketed. It has exploded. This last year, 2024, was my biggest year for Magic. It was the first time I'd done an international gig. It was the first time I'd sold out a headline show in a small theatre. It was a year of Magic. It was a year of performing, and hopefully 2025 just builds on that and it accelerates, because that is what I'm passionate about. I am passionate about Magic, not playing cards, not the next latest, coolest design of playing cards, or producing more decks for people to have in their own dusty drawers. That's not what interests me anymore. It just isn't. I'm so in love with Magic. I think it is brilliant. I think it is the best art form, and I think it can improve so much. And that is what I want to focus on. Advancing the art form, advancing my own personal Magic journey, learning more tricks, being a better magician, making better videos on here for people, expanding the Magician Club. Just talking about this, I am excited about it. I've got so much that I want to share with the Magic community, with this community on the channel and the Magician Club community. There are so many projects and things that I want to work on, and they are all Magic related. No longer card related. That's just the brutal truth of it. And it's strange to sort of be at the end of this journey, and it is a little bit sad, I suppose, because I've loved working with Aya on these projects, and I'll work with him on other projects in the future, I'm sure. They won't be decks of cards, but me and Aya are still friends, if you're wondering if that's the issue as well. It's not. Hopefully I'm quitting while I'm ahead, and I'm ending on a high. CVN as a brand, as a thing, will still kind of exist. I will release Magic through CVN.cards. That's not going anywhere. The site isn't really going anywhere. It might change or tweak or move around a little bit. I'm not entirely sure yet, still figuring that out. But there are still things that I want to do with that, like physical Magic products I will sell. And if that is a trick deck of cards, again, I will sell that. But yeah, it's just a new era, a new year, a new era, a new complete focus and dedication on what matters to me and what I think ultimately matters to the Magic community. So there we have it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you are excited about the journey that is to come, make sure to hit the thumbs up button down below and subscribe to the channel as well so you don't miss a thing from me. And you can check out the Magician Club down in the description. That is where I'm going to be focusing a lot of my time this year. So if you want to hear from me or get all of the new items this year, you can actually get 15% off when you join on an annual subscription. So if you want to start the year with a year of the Magician Club, you can get a 15% discount. But yeah, that's it from me. I will see you in the next video, whatever that is. Until then, take care.